Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patron, Jeffrey S. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. Finally, we get some movement when it comes to FSD and Hardware 3. FSD version 12.5.1.4, which is now rolling out to Tesla employees, has been confirmed to support Hardware 3. Not a Tesla app has confirmed Tesla has Hardware 3 vehicles running this latest FSD update. Elon made that 10-day promise on July 29th, so turned out to be 23 days, but who's counting? To be clear, there may still be a wait here. If you have Hardware 3, Tesla may want to publicly roll this out to Hardware 4 vehicles first to ensure there aren't any regressions, and then they can proceed to the non-employee rollout to Hardware 3 vehicles, so it may be another few days. Not to be the bearer of bad news, but there's also a chance with big point releases like 12.6 and 12.7, it's still easier and faster for Tesla to launch on AI4 and then spend a few weeks refining the code for Hardware 3. That would mean there's at least a chance that Hardware 3 runs on a lag going forward, but that's just my speculation to prepare everybody. On X, Ashok did say Tesla got similar performance as the AI4 12.5 release with a relatively smaller model for AI3. So at least right now, there may be some different driving behavior whether you have Hardware 3 or Hardware 4. But Ashok did say we think we can run the same 12.5 model on both the hardware platforms in the future. The team is already working on that now using some model compression techniques. As a reminder, Ashok said parameter count is just one way that they can improve performance. You also look at dataset distribution, dataset quality, the model architecture, and the training compute. These all have a tremendous impact on the final performance. It sounds like these performance differences may be negligible to the common eye, but something to keep in mind until we get to the exact same model on Hardware 3 and 4 sometime in the future. Ashok also said the Cybertruck will start by getting parking assistance features, given that it's not exactly the easiest vehicle to park. The initial release is slated for the end of this week. FSD for Cybertruck is expected in September. At a recent auto symposium, some industry players had some comments on autonomy. An executive from Cruise said a future where autonomous vehicles are widely commercially deployed, saving lives every day, is not a given. I guess that really shouldn't come as a surprise though, given Cruise's accomplishments to date. The industry highlighted some challenges like the standards and best practices are still under development, the regulations are fuzzy and incomplete, and safety benchmarks do not exist. Despite that, Zoox is looking to start commercial services in Las Vegas by the end of this year. Cruise has said they intend on restarting commercial services by early next year, and 3 autonomous trucking companies, Kodiak, Aurora, and Gatik, are expected to begin commercial services without drivers by the end of this year. But federal regulations mandate truck drivers, should they pull off to the shoulder of the road, place warning triangles behind their trailers. One possible solution for these trucking companies with no humans on board is to have front and rear facing lights that flash and signal that a vehicle is parked. Aurora and Waymo have already asked the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration if those lights would count as a suitable alternative, but the agency has not yet responded. And that was over 17 months ago that they asked. Everyone was saying the same thing. They want a systemic way to assess risks and identify weaknesses with autonomous driving. They say the industry needs safety metrics and benchmarks that make it easy for the public to scrutinize the safety of autonomous vehicles. Until we get those standards out there, I think larger deployments are tough. It'll happen, but it's challenging for all stakeholders, including the general public. The problem here is there won't be an apples-to-apples comparison. What's a disengagement? How are remote interventions counted? How are we going to compare highway miles with city street miles? What about rural driving versus city driving? How about accounting for weather and road conditions? When do you factor in the time these autonomous trips take? I think you get the picture. It's just going to be incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to have true apples-to-apples safety data unless it's broken out by geography and season. It just highlights what I've been saying, that it's tough to draw meaningful conclusions comparing Waymo's safety data in a select few cities to Tesla's safety data in vehicles operating everywhere in the country. In Australia, the trial for Tesla's Charge on Solar is now over, and it's now officially available to all Australian owners with a Powerwall and a compatible Tesla vehicle. Plus, it should work with any hardwired home EV charger, not just a Tesla wall charger. The vehicle will adjust charge power approximately every 10 seconds, matching surplus generation and electricity consumption elsewhere in the home. Things like storm watch, backup reserve, self-powered and time-based control modes will work seamlessly with Charge on Solar. So for example, you could start topping up as usual using power from solar and the grid for daily driving once you get to 40% state of charge. Then from there you can go only with surplus power from your solar up to 90%. And for customers without a favorable net energy metering plan to be compensated for excess energy, this is a nice alternative to keep that solar energy behind the meter, if you will, and channel it directly to your car with plenty of flexibility. On the Tesla configurator for the Model S and X, Tesla has renamed this Drive Anywhere package. It was $5,000, but now if you add FSD at full price, they bump that down to $2,000 for free supercharging and premium connectivity for 3 years. The break even on this one after taking out the $300 for 3 years of premium connectivity would be $1,700 over 3 years in free supercharging costs, which divided by 36 months is about $47 per month. But very important, right here in the fine print, it says vehicles for commercial use are not eligible. So Uber, Lyft drivers, you cannot have this plan. Now, will Tesla actually enforce that and track people down? It's anybody's guess, but it does say it right there. Baltimore's Board of Estimates, which is basically their spending panel, just voted at a meeting to spend up to $5 million to buy EVs made by Tesla for use by city employees. This was the first time city officials have voted to purchase vehicles from Tesla. It was also the first time Tesla responded to a request for bids from car makers looking to sell cars to Baltimore. Baltimore issued a request for bids from companies that would sell EVs to the city. Tesla was one of 2 companies that responded. The other was Waldorf Ford in Maryland, and they were looking to provide the Mach-E. Now, they said the reason Ford's bid was not accepted because the Mach-E is classified as a 5-passenger SUV, and this contract is specifically for passenger cars and sedans. But if you keep reading, the contract also enables the city to buy 2 models from Tesla, the Model 3 and the Model Y. Doing the math, depending on the split between Model 3s and Model Y, this will end up with the administration getting around 150 Tesla vehicles. The cars will be used across all agencies primarily as administrative vehicles, with other police departments across the country like Pasadena reporting incredible savings from adopting an electric and specifically a Tesla-based fleet. This type of thing really should be mandated to save the taxpayer money and to protect the officers in the safest cars out there. These next 3 stories may very well be something that protects you or your family from avoidable harm. The FTC recently said Xmode, a data broker, sold consumers raw location data without consent and without limits. Xmode got some of this geolocation data from apps and other info from other data brokers. More recently, National Public Data, a company that does background checks, was hit with a data breach exposing nearly 3 billion personal records with things like names, addresses, and social security numbers. And third, just a few weeks ago, in a letter to the FTC, it was revealed that Honda and Hyundai sold driver data to Verisk, which is, yes, a data broker. This is exactly how phone and email scams are possible. These bad actors have all of your personal information, making it seem legit, and they keep getting better. That's just part of why I've partnered with Delete Me, the sponsor of this video. Delete Me erases all of your personal information from all of the hundreds of data brokers and the new ones that keep popping up. I researched Delete Me for an entire weekend, watched all the YouTube videos out there, read many blog posts, and I came away very impressed. They're an American-based company, and this is all they do. It's their specialty. In my most recent quarterly report, Delete Me reviewed over 3,700 listings and removed 23 new listings that had my personal data, saving me over 60 hours in total. And Delete Me shows me the status of every single data broker and whether my data removal is in progress, or if it's clean and complete. And yes, as you can see, Delete Me continually scans these data brokers, making sure my information stays off of these platforms. And just so you know, their customer service is awesome if you need it, and you do get your own personal advisor to talk to anytime you have questions. I know many of you have already signed up, but if so, don't forget, you can share this with your friends and your family that may be clueless when it comes to data brokers and their data being sold. So if you'd like to get you and your family's privacy back and support a great US-based company, you can head to joindeleteme.com/electrified to get 20% off using my code electrified linked below, or you can use the QR code right on the screen. On X, Cam shared a picture of a new Megacharger from Tesla in Tuele, Utah, sharing this image, and it appears as though this isn't exactly a permanent setup just yet, as it's still sitting on a pallet. At the bottom, you see MC1 for what we believe is Megacharging unit, and then if you scroll down, you do indeed see a picture of the Megacharger connector. I think the most interesting thing here is the location. This photo was in Tuele, Utah, which is out here, and to date, most of the Tesla Semi Megacharger talk has been in California and Nevada. This could be a new customer for Tesla in Utah, or it could just be Tesla building out the network ahead of higher Semi production toward the end of next year. Either way, it's what you want to see. Tesla also has a new job posting for the Tesla Semi, and they're looking for a test engineer for abuse engineering. It's exactly what you're thinking. They're looking for somebody to push battery systems to their limits and beyond using specialized equipment. This team is working at a remote off-grid test site near Giga, Nevada. One part of the job description, the engineer will build test equipment like a car crusher, a replica building with fire extinguishing, battery chargers and power cyclers, and electrical and thermal data sensors and acquisition and continuous video recording.
We believe that the total addressable market for Gravity is 6 times that of Lucid Air. This is a huge product for us. We're just in the process of completing the build out of our factory in Arizona to a capacity of 90,000 units per annum. We're on track for manufacturing around 9,000 Lucid Airs this year. Gravity's going to come in, and our finances are dominated by scale. It's all scale, 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 and this is a big step in that scale. Clearly we have the best technology in the world. We've now taken the mantle from Tesla. We have the best tech, and that is being widely recognized.
Right, so you'd say that Lucid has surpassed Tesla in terms of technology.
Oh yes, absolutely. We've taken the mantle, without a doubt. I mean, everyone is striving for how far can you go with how little battery space. We are considerably ahead of where Tesla is. We've taken that mantle. When I was at Tesla, Tesla was the tech leader. They've become distracted, and we have taken that place.
It's quite ironic, actually. The tech Peter is referring to is Lucid's efficiency from its powertrain advancements, and props to them for that, but the question is, how far can that tech really take you? He said it himself, Lucid needs scale, and they're currently operating at less than 10% of their new capacity. They need the Gravity to be a home run, and despite Peter's hubris and marketing games, I'm still rooting for them. There was some new research published by the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy, and they said the Model Y, the best-selling EV in the US, can go about 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour, while many vehicles get closer to 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour. Then they said at today's battery prices, reducing the size of a battery by 40% while maintaining the same range translates into a $4,800 savings. So thanks for the math here, guys, but the question is how to pull something like that off. They did highlight Hyundai's Ioniq 6 getting 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour and the Lucid Air Pure up over 5 miles per kilowatt hour, the first in the industry to do it. But the rest of the article was centered around this insane premise that companies like Tesla just magically wave a wand and cut battery pack sizes by 40% while keeping everything else the same. Ford has said that the next generation F-150, project codename T3, has been delayed yet again. This time it's been delayed back to the second half of 2027, and Ford said it's working on taking all the feedback it's gotten from F-150 Lightning customers to make a better product in that regard, with features and experiences never seen on any Ford truck, a list that includes bidirectional charging and advanced aero. Farley has referred to this new F-150 as a Millennium Falcon with a porch attached, so Star Wars fans will like that, but they also said it'll be a superior option to the Cybertruck, calling it one of of the most thrilling vehicles I've ever seen in my career. Let me be specific, stunning performance like no truck has ever performed, ability, unexpected innovation for truck customers far beyond the normal truck attributes, a super flexible cabin that feels like a lounge or a tiny office. So Jim Farley better be careful setting the bar extremely high for a truck that maybe will come out in 2027. That gives the Cybertruck 3 years to get a footing in the market, and we know that vehicle is going to continually get better as well. We also learned that Ford is now canceling its plans for an all-electric 3-row SUV. Instead, Ford's going to prioritize the introduction of a new all-electric commercial van in 2026, followed by a more affordable mid-sized EV pickup and the full-size in 2027. Their CFO said our focus here is to remake Ford into a higher growth, higher margin, more capital efficient and durable business, and that means these vehicles need to be profitable. And if they're not profitable based on where the customer is in the market, we will pivot and adjust and make those tough decisions. The CFO said Ford determined the 3-row electric SUV would not be profitable within the first 12 months of its launch. So instead, the company will make a hybrid 3-row SUV. This upcoming commercial van for Ford will be assembled in Ohio. Ford also said it's planning to move some Mach-E battery production from Poland to Michigan in 2025, helping customers qualify for the tax credits. Reading between the lines, Ford is now laser focused on higher margins, which means we should be expecting a lot more hybrids from Ford. And we should expect more full EV delays, because if they're not going to sell them at a loss, then they're not going to be able to sell them, the next gen ones that is, for quite some time. Tesla did debut Optimus at the World Robot Congress today, but it was just stationary in glass, so nothing really to see here. We got the pricing for VW's upcoming ID Buzz that will make it to the United States later this year. The Pro S starts at $59,900. The Pro S Plus will be $63,500, and then the launch only first edition will be $65,500. Rear wheel drive models will have 234 miles of EPA estimated range, and the all-wheel drive models will offer 231 miles. This is achieved with a 91 kilowatt-hour battery pack. This vehicle will come only in 6 or 7 seat configurations, but if you want the all-wheel drive, you'll be stuck with the 6-seat option. Toyota plans to install a 9,000-ton gigapress machine at a Japanese plant as soon as this year, but this article is why we have to read beyond just the headline. Toyota plans to start gigacasting with an upcoming Lexus LF-ZC. The body will be divided into front, center, and rear, and the front and rear portions will be gigacast. But here they say the machine is expected to be used to prototype EV components and not be for mass production. Toyota still needs to assess whether the tech leads to a reduction in parts and processes, as well as to lighter EVs. Which is foolish, because they already know that it does if they open their eyes and look in Tesla's direction. So what they're really saying is, hey, we need to figure out if we can do this successfully first, because it's not just like you buy these machines and you're good to go. Tesla is issuing a physical recall for 9,100 Model X vehicles from 2016. A trim piece on the roof could separate from the vehicle, but Tesla said a change in process had been made at the supplier in July 2016 to prevent the issue in later models. Tesla will test the adhesion of the roof trim and reattach the trim pieces as necessary at no cost to owners. Rivian has officially obtained approval for its expansion at its plant in Normal, Illinois, which is expected to be for the upcoming R2 production. The state still needs to do some testing before Rivian can break ground, but Illinois has already granted $827 million in incentives for Rivian making the R2 there. Carlos Tavares, the CEO of Stellantis, will be visiting Detroit this week for an emergency meeting of sorts. They'll be looking to develop a fix for their North American operations. Tavares wanted to make it clear he was handling this personally, because North American operations are basically funding the rest of the company. Stellantis' first half operating income fell 40%, mainly thanks to performance in North America. Tavares said, "We were arrogant, and I'm talking about myself, nobody else." Some industry players are now commenting on the possibility of losing the tax credits for EVs. Rivian's senior director of public policy said it's basically yanking the rug out from underneath all those suppliers and manufacturers that invested domestically or in some of our trading partners. And he added, that's really scary. Companies have already allocated $223 billion to EV-specific facilities and initiatives in the US in recent years. The National Resources Defense Council warned that $89 billion in investments companies have announced but not yet allocated could evaporate if the legislation is repealed. Wall Street would most likely adjust its models significantly if the tax credits were taken away. A Bank of America analyst said, I'd bet we'd have a pretty significant decline in EV penetration in the US. I did want to highlight this C2 initiative, which is basically the US Navy adopting Starlink. They scaled up the bandwidth by connecting multiple Starlink antennas to achieve the objective of 1 gigabit per second. This initiative was 20 times faster than any other program in the past. They said this is a once-in-a-lifetime transformation for the warfighter, and we're pressing to deliver it to the fleet as fast and aggressively as possible. C2 is entirely up and running on Abraham Lincoln, the ship, and has completely revolutionized what life at sea means. Sailors' morale and work output have been bolstered by the fast, stable, and secure connection. While they were testing it, they were able to host a Super Bowl watch party. They said, we want to escape the mindset C2 is only for tactical use. Right now, it's all about getting the best of our sailors by keeping them connected to home in a way they're used to and giving them the tools to do their jobs more effectively. C2 is on the cusp of being available on every Navy ship and more shore sites as well. The article didn't say specifically, but I believe they're actually using SpaceX's Starshield. That's the tech that's designed specifically for government use. If you're wondering about those pictures, I did go find a separate article that said the US Navy is using both Starlink and Kymeta terminals aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln. So what you were looking at was likely the Kymeta U-8. Kymeta is just another US-based satellite communications company. Tesla stock closed the day at $223.27, up 0.98%, while the Nasdaq was up 0.57%. It was another quiet volume day for Tesla, trading about 29 million shares below the average volume in the past 30 days. Don't forget, check out Delete Me linked below to get 20% off if you'd like to support the channel and a great American company. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please like the video if you did. You can find me on X linked below, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.